Hey, yo, salute to all my subscribers and a special shout out to everybody else passing through. YouTube, what's good? Welcome back to Kevin CTV. This is the first installment of On Air with Kevin. I don't plan to keep y'all long for this one. I just decided to get on this morning, do a blog, talk my shit. Um, Basically, though, what I want to talk about, and I'm only going to take maybe, I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes of your time talking about this shit. But here we go again with more bullshit, more racist, emboldened bullshit in 2018. So this story out of Virginia that I came across on the news happened about a week ago at this point. There's a woman who ran into his family, the Spanish family, at a restaurant in Virginia. And for no apparent reason, she just started shouting at this family, you know, why are you guys here? Go back where you came from. Let me see your passports. And we've seen videos and we've heard about news stories and situations like this before. This is not the first time that we're hearing about these types of things. What is interesting, though, what I thought was interesting anyway, is the fact that when these situations happen, it's always a big story for a few days, and then it dies down until the next news cycle. But what's interesting is, and people have talked about this in the last year and a half, it seems like people are becoming more and more bold to let their true selves show. Like, it's like there used to be a time, before the current political climate, the current social climate, but after, I'm going to say the after the Reagan years, right? We came into a time in this country where people grew increasingly cautious about what they said to whom and how willing they were to voice their opinions about different racial groups and different groups in general. And I feel like as of late, and I could speculate on that, why that is, but I won't. But it seems like in the past couple of years, people have really become more and more emboldened by recent occurrences, to really just not give a fuck about how they feel and not give a fuck or have enough respect to hide it. I mean, this woman's no different. I mean, this shit is ridiculous. First of all, even if I felt this way about another group, another race, or what have you, you're out in public. I'm sure you have a job, you may have children, you have family, you have friends, and forget the fact that the job that you work more than likely caters to the public in some way, shape, or form. And I'm pretty sure that company doesn't want to be represented that way. Even though the CEOs of that company or the management of that company may share your views. Companies don't want to be portrayed or represented that way in public because it hurts their bottom line, quite frankly. It's kind of the reason why we saw a woman out of St. Louis who was blocking a black man from getting into his condo building. It's probably part of the reason why she got fired, because she was acting like a goddamn racist, and the company that she worked for wasn't about that type of shit. Nobody wants to be associated. See, it's one thing to be tough and to be bold and to be prejudiced and to be racist out in the open. That's one thing. That takes balls. I'll give it to everybody who does it. But it's a whole nother thing when this potential blowback on the company that you work for. We've seen this situation with the the two young black men out in Starbucks several months back who ended up getting a settlement because they were just sitting in Starbucks waiting to have a business meeting, and were never approached or told that they had to buy something, were never asked to leave. Meanwhile, the cashier, the patron behind the counter, decided to call the police and tell them that these gentlemen were refusing to buy and didn't want to leave, And they ended up being escorted out of the building in handcuffs, only for Starbucks to later issue a statement basically saying, yeah, we don't condone this shit. We're not racist. We're sensitive of every race, every group, and ultimately these gentlemen ended up getting a settlement as well. Um, Same thing with a man who several months back, I forget, there was some kind of a diner or Denny's or something of that nature. And same thing, this black family went inside. They were told that they could not be seated, that there were no seats available, and there were. And that turned into a big news story as well. Every time you act like this woman did out in public, and the videos are all over the internet, I'm not even going to put the links to the video in the description box because I don't condone shit like this. I just want to know what y'all think about it, because there's people like Medical Sour. Shout out to you, Medical Sour, if you're watching this video, who has colorful opinions about things like this. I'd be real interested to know what your take on this one is, Medical Sour. This Spanish family wasn't bothering anyone. This Spanish family was minding their business, trying to have a meal in a restaurant. Why is this woman shouting at them to show her their passport? Even if this is the problem that I have with these types of quote unquote Americans, even if you felt like there was a possibility that this family was undocumented, you are not Border Patrol. You do not work for immigration. You are not a police officer. You are in no official or unofficial capacity to be questioning anyone about them showing you their passport. There's no reason for you to be doing that. And I'm interested to know what you personally think, Medical Sour. Do you have a colorful explanation or a justification? Are you going to defend this woman for why she felt the need to harass this family? Because that's what it amounts to. It amounts to harassment. And I think anyone who doesn't see that, I think is just choosing not to see it. So here's the good news. Just like this minority-owned company who fired this white woman who in St. Louis was preventing this man from entering his home after a long day at work, the owners of this restaurant released a statement on Facebook just a couple days ago, basically saying that this woman, whoever she is not welcome in their restaurant anymore, and that she's basically, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm paraphrasing very close to what they actually said. I just don't know the exact words, but it was definitely along the lines of, you're pretty much a disgusting human being, and we would thank you very much if you would never frequent our restaurants again, because people like you are not welcome here. And I got to admit, this is the second news story of this nature in a row now, where companies have actually stepped up, albeit small companies, they're not major corporations, fine. But the fact that companies are finally stepping up and sticking up for people who are being disenfranchised, who are being marginalized, who are being undervalued, these companies get a lot of points for me. And they don't have to do that. I can understand if it's one of their employees. I can understand in those cases where they kind of have to release some kind of a statement or do a press release because people are looking at them as a business. You're the reflection of your employee, so people do look at it that way. But for random other customers and patrons who frequent that establishment to do something that is offensive and deplorable, like this woman did, and for the company to actually speak up and say, listen, nah, we're not with that shit. We don't even want this woman in our restaurants anymore. I think that that's dope. And I think that any company willing to hurt their bottom line, even if by just losing one customer, because there are plenty of other people who share the same mindset as this woman, this individual, whose name is not important and I won't even put on this channel. But when, any company that stands up for those same disenfranchised people, and they don't have to, and they could have just easily played the back and not said anything because this wasn't one of their employees and they were not responsible for this other customer. I think these types of companies deserve our attention. I think these are the companies with whom we should be spending our money and getting as far away as possible from the rest of the companies who don't clearly have the same value in us. Anyway, it's about the 10-minute mark. That's typically about how long I want these on air with Kevin's to be. Stay tuned for the next one. Let me know what y'all think about this one. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. Medical Sour, hit me up because I got some ideas for us. Let me know what y'all think about this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace and love.